you, ma'am, in in this amazing interview session with India's prominent legal luminaries. Ma'am was humble enough to not call herself a prominent legal luminary, but we know how much excited we are to host you, ma'am. We are really looking forward for such an interactive, informative session, which is the aim of this interview. And before we could start our interview, ma'am, I would like to inform all our law students who are here about an amazing event which is coming. We are hosting a competition series which is coming on this Independence Day. It is called Reconceiving Independence, and it is a series of 4 events: debate, literature competition, article, and blog writing. And it has got some amazing perks apart from the certificate and prize money that you get. It is giving you e-publication opportunities in Amazon Kindle and Daily Hunt as well. So do check out for this as well. We will be providing you the brochure after this event. And yes, ma'am. So after this, I would like to take the privilege and honor to introduce ma'am, who doesn't actually require introductions, at least in the legal fraternity among us. But yeah, I would like to introduce her because her achievement is really inspiring. So, Sanchita Ayan ma'am is an advocate on record in the Supreme Court of India with an experience of almost a decade in the field of law. She have handled complex matters before the Supreme Court and High Courts and other forums in the country. This include landmark constitutional law cases like linking of PAN with Aadhaar, triple talaq, 2G spectrum case, affirmative action, rights of minority institutions, land acquisition cases, and matters relating to civil, corporate, competition service, and family laws. She holds the prestigious LLM degree in international human rights law with distinction from the University of Essex. While at Essex, she worked on a project for the Essex Human Rights Clinic and the Open Society Justice Initiative. She also advises various startups, early stage companies, and clients from the entertainment industry. Described as a people oriented lawyer, she takes great pride in considering client satisfaction as her greatest reward. She is frequently invited by renowned universities to deliver lectures and judge competitions. She is also an I Can Lead Fellow, India's first national leadership program for women with disabilities. Ma'am, once again, we would like to welcome you on behalf of the Radicals and its parent organization, Truth and Youth, and all the students who have gathered here. You are
Thank you
wholeheartedly
so
welcome,
much,
ma'am.
Abhishek. Thank you. Thank you for such an elaborate welcome speech. Uh, I don't know how much I deserve, but thank you so much. I feel humbled.
Thank you, ma'am. You deserve every bit of it. I'm sure about it. Uh, okay. So, ma'am, my first and very obvious question to you is that from the time when you had the first thought that I have to be a lawyer to this time when you have achieved one of the most admired thing in India, at least, that is being an AOR of the Supreme Court. How has been the journey, ma'am?
Right. So, Abhishek, let me begin with saying this that when I thought of studying law, I didn't really have anything in mind that what I want to do out of it. It was just the fact that I enjoyed studying political science, I enjoyed studying constitution, that I thought I want to study it. This is something worth studying and not just something that you do for a degree. Like, for example, AOR exam, I wanted to crack it. I wanted to become an AOR, and therefore I did it. It wasn't because I enjoyed, drafting paper or any particular aspect of the exam that I wanted to crack it. But with law, it was the fact that I enjoyed doing it, and therefore I always emphasize that you should always pick things that you enjoy doing, you intrinsically enjoy doing, and not just go by what people say that you should be doing. So I think that was the first and foremost uh, right thing, if you can say, that I did, that I chose to study something that I was actually interested in.
Yes, ma'am.
So after that, once I went to study law, and obviously when you are interested in something, you're doing well in it, you are good with your basics, you're good in CADs, and then there's so much that you can do with it, right? But there were no second thoughts about it that I wanted to join litigation. I was good in moods, right? So while there were people who would think, oh, she's good in ACAD, so therefore she should go for judiciary, I also had people who would say, oh, she speaks so well, she should be mooting, right? She should be going for litigation, and there are no questions about it. So people were kind of speculating while I was sure that I'm going for litigation. Of course, there were people speculating, and let me use this platform to say this, that I went to Aligarh Muslim University. So many people there had this notion that for women, it's judiciary is better for women. So I would always ask them, compared to what? Right? And therefore, that question always stayed in my mind as to why so many women don't join litigation when they actually want to, right? What stops them? What are these kind of unseen barriers that come in their way? Though it didn't stop me, but I'm very sure there are many women who feel themselves hindered by these kind of notions that society has. Anyway, so I wanted to do litigation, but then by the time I was in fourth year, I started developing interest in integrated knowledge. So I was attending seminars, conferences of different departments. Aligarh Muslim University has amazing history department, linguistic department. People from all over the world were coming for conferences, and there were exchange of ideas, which was mind blowing. My horizon got expanded, and I started reading so much, not just about law, not just in the field of law, but otherwise as well. And I started integrating them and seeing how it works with law. So, for example, I started understanding language of law. Why are certain languages being used? When are certain languages being used? What are the implications? All of that, and I wanted to do research on all of these aspects, same with history, right? So how the concept of justice would change with time, etc. I had interest in philosophy of law, jurisprudence. I used to spend a lot of time reading jurisprudence. So therefore, I thought academics is something that I was then interested in, right? So I'm saying you all this because I don't come from a place where I would want to say, oh, this is the right thing to do. Or I don't come from a place that somebody has said that this is the right thing to do. So let me also fit my story with that, align it so that you get an impression that, oh, I was so focused and I always wanted a career in litigation, and all through I was doing this. No, I wasn't. I was just working on myself, working on my knowledge base, right? And I was also working on getting my base clear. My base was pretty strong. So you ask me anything about anything that any legal subject, and I would have the answer on my fingertips. That was there, and that saved me wherever I went. That saved me in litigation, that saved me during internship. Not just saved me, but it ensured that I had a job wherever I went for an internship, right? I could keep my head held high all the time, because whatever I was expected, I would always prove myself beyond expectation. I would always show that, you know what, you expected so little from me, I can deliver way more than. And this is even during internships, because my expectation from myself was such that it helped me to deliver, right? So that's what happens when you go for internships, and if you go with that frame of mind that, oh, I have come to learn, then it's limited, right? So the contribution you can make is very limited. You're just thinking about yourself, what you can gain from it. Or even if you're thinking of getting a job, you're just thinking about yourself. While what I was doing was, okay, fine, I have this to do, and I have to do this. That's it. So there was nothing beyond that in my mind that was going on at that time. So sometimes what happens, if you're too stressed about, oh, I have to prove, you end up not being able to prove it, right? Whereas if you're just focused at the job, then perhaps that will leave a lasting impression in people's mind, because then you will be able to do something extraordinary using the ability you have. So you need to believe in yourself, first of all, in order to do that, so that you are not too anxious during your internships to perform. So that worked for me wherever I intern. And trust me, I came from AMU, so it's not like I was getting tier one internships just like that. I was not. Even after applying, I was not. So it was just that I thought, I want to do this internship. Let me apply for it. Let me go and meet a senior advocate. Let me try my luck. So nothing stopped me from having dreams. Okay. So that's the other thing that worked for me, that I want to do this, which means I want to do this. Right. And one of the internships I got was because I again wanted to just read. So when you want to read, you want to study, what do? You explore all the places. So I would go to seminar library in our faculty and read. I would go to the central library and read, right? And then I would also come to Delhi. I would take the local train. I would come to Delhi. I would take the morning 6:20 train to Delhi, read, spend the entire day at ILI, ISIL, right? And then I would take the evening local train back home or back to Delhi, back to Aligarh, right? So now during this phase, what happened was a group of people, I didn't know who they were. They came looking for a certain book on war crime. They wanted something on war crime, right? And now what happened was all the books on war crime were on my table. So then they wanted something specific. So they started looking at those books and I asked them, what are you looking for? So they told me this issue, and I picked the book and I pulled out the exact page and gave it to them. So that impressed them. I had no idea who they were. So they were basically law officers of MEA, Legal and Treaties Division of Ministry of External Affairs, right? And they remembered me. Next year when I went for a summer course at ISL, they still remembered me. And then I applied for an internship with my photograph on the CV. So this is the only tactical thing I managed to do. I put my photograph there because I knew they would recognize me by my photograph. And that's how I got that internship. So this is how I made my way without any inhibitions that, oh no, you know what, people don't consider students of AME to be good enough, or I'm not from national law. And since I have faced rejection from so many places, maybe I should not be trying, right? Then, of course, how AOR happened, not that I wanted to do it, but it's just that where you get your first break, that determines a lot of things. So I was offered a job. I mean, I was still contemplating what to do when I came back from my LLM. And an SSCH was working in Mr. Parag Tripathi's office. I had done an internship there. And again, I had proved my worth there. So he asked me, he had started his Indian practice. He asked me if I would like to join. I'd worked with him before. I knew that, it's very important for me that the person I work with also deserves to work with me. So the very fact that I had a choice, right? He offered me a job and I had the choice of saying yes or no. I knew that I have so many other places I can go to. I could even go to Mr. Tripathi's office. I could go to other places where I had done internships. So it was my choice. I had the, I don't know what you would call it, but yeah, I could choose at that time, and I chose to work with him. He was an AOR, he was an advocate on record in the Supreme Court. So obviously, I got a lot of exposure of Supreme Court while working under him. Then then Mr. Salman Khurshid, I had interned with him. He remembered me when he started his practice again. He asked me to join, right? And for 6 months, I said, no, I'm not yet ready to join a senior. I need to learn drafting first. I need to work in a briefing chamber for a while before I join a senior. So at some point, I was working both at my previous office and at Mr. Khurshid's office, and I was paid at par with other juniors, even though I was doing part-time here. And finally, I started working with Mr. Khurshid. Then AOR happened, right? Because that seemed to be the next step. When you are practicing, when you have started your practice in Supreme Court, even though I was very clear that I want to mix it with other courts, so it wasn't just Supreme Court ever. Because
Yes,
even during
ma'am.
my internship, I entered Supreme Court and realized, oh no, but there's no cross happening here. There are so many things that I would miss learning if I just confine myself to Supreme Court, right? So
Yes,
there
ma'am.
was always a blend of district court practice, High Court, and Supreme Court, even when I was working under an AOR. That helped me because it helps. It helps if you're practicing in Supreme Court. It helps in matters in district court because you know what can be the blunders people have made by the time they have come to Supreme Court, right? And when you have practice in district court, there are certain procedural aspects you're clear with, and so you can use them in your arguments in Supreme Court, which any lawyer who just has a Supreme Court practice would not know, right? So therefore, having all these kind of exposure always helps, always. So,
Yes, ma'am.
so after I became an AOR, then the next step was now what? Now I have to go independent, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
it was during pandemic that I decided to go independent, and actually, you just need to have that intent. You know, just have to be very clear. This is the point. I want to do this, and things automatically happen. You start talking to people about it, start discussing, and again, I had so many options. Again, I had
Yes, ma'am.
options. So many people offered me, oh, we need an AOR. Why didn't you join our office? I went, met them, and I didn't like. And then there was this one person who used to come to brief us so often, and I realized, yes, we can work together, and that's how it started, right? So it becomes easier when you know your worth,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
to know your worth, you also have to create your worth. You have to put in
Yes,
a lot
ma'am.
of hard work for that, and there's no shortcut to it. Networking, everything can help you, but ultimately I always say it's hard work that pays off. There are people
Yes,
in litigation who have tremendous networking skills, but there are other factors that are helping them. So even without hard work, you will find them succeeding. But if you don't have those factors working in your favor, then all you have is hard work then, and then rest
yes,
of
ma'am.
it follows. So even if some factors are against you, so even if for example, I come from a middle class, I'm a first generation lawyer, so these factors you can say are against me, but I didn't let them, I didn't think these to be my limitations. I knew they were there. I knew that those who come from a family of lawyers would have an advantage. I knew those who come from upper middle class, they would get more clients because they go to they socialize with people who that helps, right?
Yes,
But
ma'am.
that does not mean I cannot do well in life. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Even I am too the first generation lawyer, and I hail from a very small town of Chhattisgarh. And you already answered my next question that you are a first generation lawyer. I wanted to ask this, ma'am, because I wanted to ask that who was the first person who guided you about there are law universities, you have to go there. Then there are Supreme Court, this courts. At the very initial stage, ma'am, like when you were at your high school at
Right.
that time.
So my journey was a bit different, and perhaps that's why I didn't have any goal. I'm not saying that you all should be like me, that, oh, the study of law interested me, and therefore, I don't think I would have done that if I would have had the kind of life that other people of my age did. I fortunately or unfortunately didn't have the same kind of life. I was different in the sense that I was diagnosed with a chronic neurological condition, and therefore people around me didn't expect me to do much. People around me didn't even want me to do a 5 year law course, right? They just wanted me to get a graduation degree from anywhere, because at that time even that looked difficult given
Yes.
my health condition. So I am not blaming them, but nobody in my house, in my family, allowed me to apply to any national law universities. That remains a fact. So I wept. I felt very helpless because I knew for sure I want to do a 5 year law course. Otherwise, if I start studying something else, then I will continue to do, I will continue to do masters, PhD, whatever in that subject. I won't then study law. I was very clear about this. That's why I begged because I simply knew I want to do a 5 year law course, but they were not sure. What if I can't complete it? Then how do I manage my, they just wanted me to get a graduation degree and start working, start earning a living for myself, right? So these were the factors that affected so I could not apply anywhere. It was AMU just happened because, and that was the only university where I could apply because one of my father's friend had heard that I wanted to do law, among other things. So he had sent the form, and therefore I managed to fill it up and send it on the last day. So AMU just happened, and I just thought, see, I was in that frame of mind. I was not very confident about my future, trust me. I just knew this is what I want to do, this is what interests me, and that's what started mattering to me because I had seen so much. I'd seen so much that my priorities had changed. So I just wanted to do, so the journey became important for me rather than the goal, the end. I didn't even know if I would reach the end. So I just knew what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to do that. So I just thought if I make it in AMU, then I will study law. If I can't, I won't study law. It was that kind of frame of mind I was operating from. Of course, people ask me, oh, are there lawyers in your house, etc. But that didn't bother me at all because at that time, I was not looking at those parameters of success at all. Like I'd seen it all. I'd come from a phase where people had thought I would be in the top 10 list in Calcutta. I had excelled in everything. I had in extracurricular activities, everything. From there, I had seen days. So from over 90% to days when I was struggling to get 30%, I had seen it all. So therefore, what mattered was the fact that I was able to do something. I was able to study something in itself became a privilege by the time I came to study law.
Okay, that's great, ma'am. Ma'am, and when did you moved out to Delhi?
So Delhi happened because my father was transferred to Delhi when I was in +2. So that's how I studied in Aligarh, and then automatically Delhi. And thankfully my father was in Delhi. Otherwise, doing internships may have been a problem at that time, given that I had a condition and my family would have had placed certain restrictions on me during that time. But since my family was in Delhi already, so Delhi just happened, and I was lucky. I mean, to that extent, I was lucky because there are so many things, and I'm saying this aloud because there's so many things in the life of so many women. There's so many things in the life of so many persons with disabilities where their autonomy is compromised and they can't help it to that extent. It's very easy to say, oh no, you should not believe in destiny and fate and you should have the courage to fight. But when you are at that age, it's really difficult when your autonomy is compromised on these grounds that you are a woman or you are a person with disability, and it's done in a way that you don't have much options. You don't know how to fight it. After a certain age you can, but by then a lot of water has passed under the bridge.
Yes, ma'am. And as you have already mentioned something about litigation, that women are always advised that litigation is not your forte. It's one of the challenge which I can see. Oh shit. I'm so sorry, ma'am. The electricity is just
It's
gone.
okay, but try to control. It can happen before court, so don't use those words. Try not to
Oh,
not
I'm so
to
sorry,
use
ma'am.
those words. It's okay.
I'm so sorry. Actually, I was fearing the same thing. It's raining since 5 o'clock, and even
Right.
in 6:30 it was like this only. So I was literally fearing that it shouldn't happen between the interview. But
It's
yeah,
okay. It's okay. Where are you right now in Chhattisgarh?
ma'am, I'm in Bemetara.
Okay, wow, good.
Yeah, you probably
Right.
haven't heard about it. It has become district.
Doesn't matter, Abhishek. It really doesn't matter. You should just take pride in whatever people. Uh, I know somebody who got all sorts of scholarships, went to Oxford, etc., just using this fact that he hailed from a small town.
Wow, ma'am, great. Ma'am, what I was asking you is that as you told about the challenge in litigation, I would want a bit more about what are the practical complexities
You were
like.
asking something about women in litigation for the sake of all the women who are here, and
Yes,
for the sake of all men who are here as well.
yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Mm, I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you repeat that actually?
Women in litigation. We're about to ask some question on it when uh, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Like women are said that litigation is not their forte, but then also you have continued it and just not just continued it, but excelled in it. So how did you do that despite of all the people saying?
See, the thing is, I never felt it. So the best part was, thankfully, I came from a family where this was not at, an issue at all. So there were people around who tried to say such things to try to influence their decision. That criminals will come and women should not be doing it, etc. But
Yes,
ultimately, thankfully, it didn't matter to them. But what happened was there were other kind of restrictions since I was staying in a league where women were not actively participating in
yes, ma'am.
competitions, etc. So that may have influenced their, you know, so I
Yes,
was
ma'am.
not allowed to participate in competitions that were uh, outside Delhi. That was one major hurdle I faced. Uh,
Mhm.
Whereas if I was in any national university, for example, it would have been different because everyone would have been going, then they wouldn't have seen it as a problem. But here, there were so many people around who tried to influence their decision, and that women shouldn't be doing this, women should be doing that. I don't know why it got influenced, but so that's why there were many things I couldn't do during my college life, but there were certain things I could. So therefore, I just explored
Yes,
what is it that I can do. So I could have done anything in Delhi, right? So therefore, I could have
yes,
come to
ma'am.
library and studied here. So I did at least that. So it wasn't like I was cribbing all the time. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. Whatever I could do, I did.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
but that's my student life, right? Then the next phase was so I didn't face any problem as such there, like from the side
Yes,
of my
ma'am.
family. But what happened later, what happens with the woman, I should say something very subtle, and it's very difficult to in fact, today itself I was discussing why after a certain age a
Mhm.
woman quit litigation, why after a certain age they look for
Yes,
some sort of less stressful job or in-house counsel.
ma'am.
What is it that happens? Why does it happen that not many women choose to have their independent practices?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's so many reasons. And if I start talking, I just did a webinar a few days back, and I was discussing there's so many reasons behind it. The very fact that women, I mean, I really think a lot over it, and I think the very fact that women cannot play after a certain age. I mean, they are not encouraged to play outdoor games, or they play with I mean, they're not jumping and playing those kind of games where football and stuff.
Yes,
um,
ma'am.
that at some level uh, makes them fearful, less adventurous, and perhaps that's why they don't want to take risks. Their ability to take risks is reduced as compared to men, is what I
Yes,
feel,
ma'am.
right? That's number one, and therefore starting an independent practice is too much. And also with all those limitations, barriers that are coming in their way, that they have to start a family, they have to do this, they have to do that. So they're looking for some sort of stable income. They are looking for
Yes,
some sort
ma'am.
of workplace where they can also manage their family, because all the obligations of a caregiver is on women. So all that is playing in their mind even before they have started working. Their family is constantly telling them that there has to be work-life balance, because in litigation you have to work for long hours. How will it happen? So therefore don't go. So I just had an associate who had this problem, and she was so much stressed because of this that she could not concentrate.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
these things happen, and we really cannot discount these. We just look at the number of women who are in litigation and we say, oh, the numbers have increased, wow. But that's not the
Yes,
case.
ma'am.
We again have to look, why are so many women who are leaving litigation? Why are there so
Yes,
many
ma'am.
women who are not arguing counsels, who do all the background work, who are amazing enablers and fixers? Why is
Yes,
women's
ma'am.
role reduced to that? If a woman has prepared the entire brief, if the woman is way more, and I'm not saying all the women are way more sincere than men, but I'm
Yes,
saying
ma'am.
if a woman is has put up certain work, then why not ask her, give her opportunities to argue cases, is a question that has always perplexed me. Because I've seen in law offices, oh, let this guy go, he'll handle it, as if women can handle stuff, right? Then, oh, you have to run around a lot. and therefore you need to have guys in office, or women can't stay for longer hours. So even before asking the woman, you just make up your mind not to take
Yes,
over,
ma'am.
right? So all of these affect a woman's ability to join in litigation even when they're ready to do it. Apart from that, there are other factors, very subtle factors, patronizing attitude, and all of that that affect the self-esteem of a woman, and therefore they don't find it very satisfying to work, and therefore again, and then the level of stress is again, I think, disproportionate. The like women are, and that happens in all workplaces for some reason, that you really have to be very very, as men, even for women, you have to be very very conscious to realize what you are doing, if you're treating them differently, if you are pointing out mistakes far more in cases of women than for men. If you are trying to tell them you won't be able to do it, not in as many words, but are you doing this in any way? So all of these kind of, I think, trainings will have to be there. I think there has to be
Yes, ma'am.
policies on equal opportunity, very, very strict policies, where
Yes, ma'am.
the personal characteristics of somebody does not hamper the choices that employers make, right? So I think these are the factors that really affect, because when you're litigating, you really need to be very, very confident, otherwise you wouldn't be effective. And therefore, any form of this kind of an attitude where you are pulled down all the time does not help. So there has to be an empowering context around for everyone. So even somebody, a guy who's coming from a lower middle class, if he's not treated in an equal manner, and it's very subtle, trust me, then his confidence will go down and he won't be a good litigating counsel,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, this brings to me the next question, which I was, actually personally excited about, is that people often compare this profession to boldness, or you need to be like the man dominating nature. You have to be like, even if I go to a family functions, people ask me what am I doing, I say I'm doing law, and they said me, you are doing law, you are such a decent cute boy, like
You
such
don't look
things.
like a lawyer.
my
Oh,
my
yeah.
teachers already say, whenever I last interacted them after passing out, they
Right.
said me, why you are going for like this, why, I mean, it's challenging field, you need to be bold, you need to be tough. I said, what, I mean, how can I be tough, like? So ma'am, and
Right.
even ma'am, when we saw movies related to this law things, or
Yeah.
web series, we
Yes.
speculate things like, this is how
Right.
lawyers talk, this
Right.
is how they behave, this is how
Right.
they talk with people. So ma'am, can you
Perfect.
just burst those myths and say
Right.
what are the real characteristic a lawyer should possess?
Right. So I'll tell you something. These days, it's not just with law, but it's has become a cultural norm, particularly in India, that's happening, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That even for journalists, like I don't know where that journalism has gone when people could calmly have discussions. Now, that person who is yelling is considered to be the best journalist,
Yes,
right?
ma'am,
So that's
definitely.
happening everywhere. So aggression is being treated as if that's the only way of being, and I think generally it's not good for society to have that kind of a I call it a kind of trait that men have had used for a very long time, but now
Yes,
even women need to use it in order to be considered competent, right?
yes,
So
ma'am.
if you can see it
Yes,
that way. So,
yes, ma'am.
but the problem is, again, I'm again bringing men and women in this, that the expectation from women is very different. So you are not expected to be aggressive, right? Whereas men are, even if you are being like the way I'm speaking right now, if I speak like this, somebody will think that, oh, she's, crossing the line and she's not being. So, so all those expectations, so I think all those expectations are quite misplaced. And you can, and whenever whoever asks me, oh, should we be this, I tell them you just have to be yourself, right? If you
Yes,
can be
ma'am.
yourself, like this is my personality. If you ask me to be something else, it will be difficult for me. And if you tell me, oh no, you have to be like that because this is how you should be, I want to kick the person on the feet because there's nothing like that. There's nothing like if anybody tells you this is how it should be, just don't listen to them. That's a norm. Okay, fine. So
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
acceptable,
Yeah.
more acceptable, right? So if you go, for example, if I'm staggering, right? So there was a time I couldn't walk properly. There can be days even now when I can't walk properly, and I feel very inferior because I look around and I see lawyers are walking so smartly. Now, walking smartly is also a trait you need to have as a lawyer. So that's something that automatically your mind starts thinking,
Yes,
because maximum people are doing it that way. But why are
yes,
they doing it that
ma'am.
way? Because they want to, right? When they wear uniform, they feel like, they feel really energetic and they're doing it,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So that's them. So if maybe somebody who was articulate, good speaker, became a good lawyer, and then people started copying him, and then people thought, oh, maybe I put in more aggression to it and then it will look better. And then there were people saying,
Yes, ma'am.
oh wow, this lawyer is good because he just fought for me, right? Clients would sit behind and sing this. So that's how
Yes,
laws
ma'am.
get created, right? And then you think that's the only way. Whereas when you argue before Supreme Court, if I start arguing like this, even this will be considered rude, right? So you really have to work on with different judges. You have to be very careful how much pitch, how much volume they would like, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise they won't be. And that's why you see that Mr. Khurshid is liked by all the judges, even though clients may think, oh, he's being too soft, but judges love him because he's reasonable and he takes into account everything, and then he argues and he's easily able to persuade the judges, bring them around. Like even cases where you have no chance of winning, he can just make it work, and the judges may say, okay, fine, go and see if you can settle it when it's a lost case, right? So all that can happen
Yes,
only
ma'am.
when you know how to, how to make it work, right? So you just
Yes,
need to
ma'am.
do that. You need to develop your skills on that. You need to have amazing observation skills. When you're doing an internship, you go to courtroom, you observe it, how it's working, what the judge is thinking, what the lawyer must be thinking. When he changed his strategy, the moment he realized that the judge is not with me, he changed his strategy. How he the language, how he changed it. He had thought this will work, suddenly he realized it's not working, and he immediately, how quick can you make those decisions, is
Yes,
what makes
ma'am.
you a good lawyer, right? How fast your mind is working, and
Yes,
how
ma'am.
much multitasking you can do, and how good are your research skills. So again, it's not necessary. Litigation is something where it's not necessary that you have to be just the arguing counsel. We always think in those terms. Of course, if you
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
become an arguing counsel, again, there's nothing like you have to be aggressive or you have to be of a certain kind. You definitely have to be confident. You
Yes, ma'am.
definitely need to have a conviction in your eyes when you're communicating with the judge. The judge should know that, oh, I mean, you're completely convinced. If you don't
Yes,
look
ma'am.
convinced, your body language, everything matters there. If you don't look convinced, how will you convince the judge? How will you persuade him? That's why you see the moment
Definitely.
the lawyer begins, the judge is like, huh, right? That's what happens because you yourself are not convinced or you're not confident enough. So
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
one thing you need to work on. You need to keep practicing, and that will come, the confidence.
Yes, ma'am.
Can have your own style. The moment you start copying other people's style, it affects your confidence because that's not who you are. So the
Yes,
moment you
ma'am.
realize who you are, just be that, it works, right?
Yes,
Second
ma'am.
thing is, even if you see yourself not doing well as an arguing counselor, you're not getting as many cases to argue, you can
Yes,
still
ma'am.
be an amazing solicitor, right? So you can have amazing research skills, for example. So I know
Yes,
somebody who was
ma'am.
very good in academics, and he joined litigation. So I was speaking to somebody who had hired him, right? And I said, but he doesn't look like a litigator, right? I said exactly the same
Yes,
word.
ma'am.
But then I soon realized that if you're good in acads, you know stuff then. If you know
Yes,
stuff,
ma'am.
then of course the moment you hear the facts of a case, you'll come up with those propositions because you already read cases where those things have been laid down, right? if you
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
uh, if you read extensively, that's why it's important that you read extensively. That's why it's important you read reference books. That's why it's important you expand your horizon, okay?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that you know the moment you have facts, you'll know how to expand your research, when to confine it, what to look for. right?
Yes, ma'am.
Reading cases, reading judgments helps you, reading reference books helps you to understand what to look for, because what do the precedents might be saying on these
Yes,
lines.
ma'am.
You have an idea then. So even if you have that, like I'm known for finding cases that are bang on, and I can do that in say 15 minutes. That's my forte. If you can be that person, anybody
Yes,
would want to hire you in the first place.
definitely.
Secondly, your clients would love you because you just got it, because they also consult other lawyers and come to you, and they know it when you have such kind of a case in your hand. They'll know that you have worked on it. They'll refer more clients to you, right? That's how you build your
Yes,
practice.
ma'am.
So there's no one thing. So even if you're good at one and you are okay in others, so it can't be that you just can't argue at all and you go before the judge and you start trembling. Then again, you cannot survive, right? So you are okay in other things, but you have one good strength. You know what that strength is, and you have worked on that strength, and you're using that strength as well. And
Yes,
that's why it's
ma'am.
important to be aware of it. Then you can succeed. Even with networking skills, some people have amazing networking skills. Just networking
Yes,
skills
ma'am.
won't help. But again, if you can use it with other stuff, again, just research skills, etc., and you are just not networking, not going to help you ultimately in building your practice. It can get you jobs. You don't need networking skills to get jobs, but to get
Yes,
cases,
ma'am.
you will need them. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. And ma'am, this question is on behalf of all the students who haven't even been to their colleges, including me. I had begun my graduation in 2020, and I haven't
Uh,
seen my college doors yet. I will be going on my second year on August. So,
right.
ma'am, like we generally feel that we are missing so much out, and that's
Okay.
partially or clearly true because we aren't even interacting with our professors much. All we can do is online interaction. So, ma'am, if
Okay.
we have to kind of match with your generation, or at least the expectation of lawyers or advocates like you, so that we can be competent enough, we can be confident enough. So, ma'am, what are the things that we should inculcate in us? What are the skills? Like you have
Right.
already pointed out, reading much is definitely something that we must do.
Right. So firstly, you'll have to see it as an opportunity and not as a loss. So now you
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
have to travel to your whatever. You are not wasting your time, right? Like
Yes,
when we
ma'am.
started working remotely, the first thing was like, oh wow, now we have so much time to do whatever we want to
Yes,
do,
ma'am.
right? So this is a golden opportunity for you that you won't get later once the classes begin, to read, as I said, reference material, to read cases, right? So you can read constitutional law cases. If you really want to litigate, then of course you should be reading cases, you should be reading judgments. And when you're reading judgments, look for how they had argued. So it's not always that you have to go to courtroom to understand how it's argued, because at that time you not even get, by the time you get what the facts of the case are, it's already over. Or they will, you may not even get to hear the full hearing, right? 2 minutes adjourned, 2 minutes adjourned, you won't get anything out of it. If you're lucky enough and you enter the right courtroom, then you can hear a full hearing, and still it will take you a while to understand the facts. Sometimes you won't even get the facts, you will lose interest, you won't get anything out of it. So my
Yes,
advice
ma'am.
would be start reading judgments, because then when you go to court, then you can understand, okay, this is what I need to get from this, right? So when you're reading judgments, you are reading how the facts are narrated. So now when the judge is narrating the facts, he is narrating from the perspective of the party who's winning the case ultimately. So if the petitioner is winning the case, you find the facts are narrated in a manner which will favor the petitioner. See how the facts are being narrated. Then you are reading the contentions of the counsels, what the petitioner argued, what the respondent argued. That will open your mind and
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate every bit of it, how it's argued and how cases are being relied upon. So now one case is being relied upon by the petitioner, and you are like, wow, this is against the respondent. Now what will be the respondent say? It's like reading a fiction. When you're reading a
Yes,
book, you'll be, and you'll have to be curious, right? So when
yes,
you're
ma'am.
reading any fiction, you'll be like, oh, what happens next? Now what will he do? Now what will she do?
Mm,
Now this is a situation. So if you do
yes,
that,
ma'am.
then you are learning along with it. It's like doing a live case. It's like
Yes, ma'am.
experiencing it yourself. And then if such a fact situation comes, you will like, oh wow, because these things you don't forget. The earlier you do these things, the more impact it has on you, because later on you won't get time to do all this. So this is a
Yes,
golden
ma'am.
opportunity to read as many judgments as you can. So whatever you're reading, say contract you're reading, Mohri Bibi, so then read Mohri Bibi. I don't
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
whichever case interests you, read those, or read something that's recent, right? Read the longer judgments and see how judgments are being written these days, right? Constitutional law judgments you want to read contract judgments. So just get a hang of things, right? Criminal law judgments. So it's a good way to start your because we didn't get time. I mean, you have the luxury, you are privileged to have this time to indulge in all this and get the most out of it. If you're also wanting to be in the thing, if you're wanting to be a good arguing counsel, please utilize this time to also read a bit of jurisprudence. Why? Because
Yes,
it
ma'am.
helps you to use that kind of language to build up principle based arguments. So read judgments, and then whatever is being referred to, maybe if you're interested in reading those books, you can go to those books and read them. I'm not saying force yourself. If you're interested in, depends, because everyone, so it's not like everyone is good at building principle based arguments. But when we
Yes,
look at
ma'am.
senior advocates, most of them have very amazing hold on language, on the way they use it, and how they argue based on equity, etc. So I think reading these uh, books can help you in getting a grasp of
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. That's great, ma'am. Ma'am, after this, I would like to ask some questions which are more or less related to you, your work life. Ma'am, not only the profession of law, but most of the profession which I see is a stressful profession, especially law itself. It involves a lot of stress and a lot of work, lot of reading you have to do, lot of homework it requires, and sometimes dealing with people who are not nicer to you. So, yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, how do you manage it all? Like,
Wow, I really like the way you put it. People who are not nicer to you. Yeah, I know.
yes, ma'am.
Um, so see, if you're clear why you are doing something, so you need to have a very not just agenda, but uh, motivation for doing it. So it can
Yes,
be
ma'am.
money, it can be for me it can be service, it can be contribution, right? For me, what gives me satisfaction is the fact that the client is satisfied, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
then when that is the goal, then whatever I'm doing, however I'm doing, it's when that's satisfied, I'm satisfied. Now
Yes, ma'am.
sometimes, so that's why I focus a lot on counseling the client, right? And
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, as Mr. Khurshid tells, that I'm a people oriented person, right? So that helps. So
Yes, ma'am.
when that helps, I derive satisfaction from, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's not stressful for me. So interacting with clients, even if I have difficult clients, is not stressful for me, right?
Yes,
But
ma'am.
there can still be, like, some people can really test my patience. So in
Yes,
fact,
ma'am.
all the difficult clients in Mr. Kushi's office were assigned to me because there was this impression that I can handle them.
Yes, ma'am.
So that improved my ability to handle them. So I took it as more as an opportunity to develop my ability to deal with people in a better manner. Um, you make mistakes, you learn from them. So sometimes, initially, what happens with people like me is that clients can be calling. Clients get some sort of solace after talking to me, and therefore they can call at any time, right? They can be very stressed, and they really need to be calmed down. So there are times when so people can make their own choices at that time. Some people say, oh no, we need to have boundaries, so we won't talk to them the way we do right now. But I didn't do that. I still speak to them as if, so that they can share everything. Like if I'm doing matrimonial cases, they get to share things like, oh, I mean, I'm feeling like aimless in my life. What do I do? And I suggest them all sorts of lifestyle changes and everything, right?
Yes.
And then they'll call me next day again, and I'll be like, okay, now this is getting like she's developing dependency tendency. Now what do I do? So it's not like I stop doing it, but it's just that I then think of other ways of handling stuff, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But so, see, stress is something only if you interpret it as stress, it's stress.
Yes, ma'am.
If you are dealing with people and thinking, oh, wow, I did this. Yeah, it's okay if I couldn't do something. It's okay if I messed up. It's okay if some client just ate my head too difficult. I didn't know how to handle it. Tomorrow will be a better day because today I learned this, right? Or
Yes, ma'am.
if you screw up in court, that happens a lot, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Some people cannot handle it, and that's why they're stressed. Some people need to put the blame on somebody else, and still they feel bad that this happened because somewhere deep inside they know that they could have done something else
Yes, ma'am.
to avoid the situation. So instead of doing that, shifting the blame on somebody, if you can just take responsibility, if you can just think, okay, fine, today was not my day, or today this happened, next time it won't happen. But to understand that, okay, it had an impact. Like the other day, I'll give you an example, very recent example. Um, I screwed up. Like I screwed up in the sense that my associate had drafted a petition, and I didn't check the formal part. I checked the rest of it. Now there was a mistake in the formal part, very basic mistake, and
Okay.
the judge saw it like it was Supreme Court, and there were people from Live Law, Bar and Bench, everyone attending that session, even people who like you, who like practicing lawyers whom I have trained in drafting. They had seen my name in the causes. They had come to attend the session, and it was very embarrassing for me that people would think I don't know how to draft, right? And now nobody is asking me this question, oh, why did it happen? Had corona, this, that, whatever. All that doesn't matter. It has happened, right? So how do you deal with it? So that can cause stress. So you need to know what is causing stress to you, and then you need to see how do you avoid getting stress, right? So how do you avoid it? You just understand, okay, the impact this had, and then once you have understood the impact, automatically it will not happen next time. Trust me, you understand the
Yes,
impact
ma'am.
fully, it does not happen next time. If you put the blame on somebody else, it still keeps bothering you. There's a conflict inside you going on that no, but you know what, I was to be blamed, I should have ensured, I should have, no, but that person was responsible. That creates stress. So that's why most of the litigating counsels are so stressed, because they just come out of the court and they're yelling at the junior, and it still doesn't make them feel good.
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, as you have achieved a lot in such a short span of time, just in 1 decade, you have achieved a position which is most admired in Supreme Court, and you are also a top 100 Lex Falcon awardee. Ma'am, but as lawyers are one of the most aspirational persons, so what is your next goal, or what is the next thing that you are looking upon?
See, one thing I'm very clear. So I'm a different. Everyone's different. So I'm very clear about one thing, that I don't want to lose myself in attaining a goal. And when I say myself, it's the person who likes to bring difference in people's lives. So it's not always to do with litigation. I do other things as well that I don't want to stop doing just because I want to reach somewhere. And so I don't understand that definition of being focused, where you just think for yourself and you forget everyone else. That's not how I look at things. And again, it could have been because I have, priorities change when you are dealing with something as chronic or something that's life threatening. So I want to keep making a difference in people's lives. That's one of my goals. Um,
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
not used to hearing those as one of the goals. Particularly in litigation, if I would have had been running an NGO, then that would have been a goal. But no, you can have such goals even when you are litigating. So it's
Yes,
very
ma'am.
important for me to keep that alive, while I'm also, again, I'm not chasing anything. Again, I'm very sure that whatever I'm doing, I need to enjoy doing it, right? So even now, since I have had those kind of turning points in my life when I had to change my decisions quite frequently. So I learned to be open to do a lot of things. I learned to excel in whatever I'm doing, but I don't have such rigid goals, right? So, in fact, my agenda was I'm litigating till the time I enjoy litigation. If I don't enjoy litigation, I'll start teaching. I'll start doing anything I like. So one of the things that I have opened, that has opened for me recently, is that I want to teach as well. As I said, I wanted to join academics earlier. So I want to teach as well. I want to train people. So all the interns who come to me, I train them in drafting, I train them in researching, so that whenever they go as a fresher anywhere, they know how to do their job, right? Otherwise, it's very frustrating when you're paying somebody and then they don't know how to do it. And then to train them, you don't have that much of time. You don't want to spend that much of time, right? So therefore, to do that, because if it affects the self-esteem at that stage, it gets very difficult. And I feel very helpless when I have somebody, a fresher, and they don't know how to do the job. It's it's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for them. So I really want to bridge that gap by training people, by teaching people practical courses in universities. And I have a set agenda how I'm going to do that. I have universities who have contacted me. I'm going to do that. With interns also, I'm working. I want to empower women to really have dreams big enough. I want to see where they are being stopped, how those hindrances can be removed. I want to work with them, right? So while doing all this, I, of course, want to, one of the things that I have done is, so I used to enjoy reading constitutional law, right? So I used to enjoy reading constitutional law because I enjoyed seeing how it has evolved over time. What a particular counsel argued that made the judge say a certain thing. If the counsel wouldn't have argued that, the judge wouldn't have said that in the judgment. We say the judgment is a landmark judgment because this is what it was laid down. Say, for example, Menka Gandhi. But what if the point was not argued, right? So I do that exercise. I used to do that when I was in college. I used to read all this. My target was to read all the judgments. I never managed to do it, but that was my target. So what happened was I managed to have an impact, the same kind of impact when I was assisting Mr. Khushi in linking of PAN with Aadhaar matter. There were other councils as well. But I thought, let me do something different because all the points were being argued. So I had to prepare written submissions over a weekend, okay? And I stayed awake all night. I told you I used to enjoy reading jurisprudence. So I revisited those books and I was just working on dignity and what different jurists have said on dignity, Dawkinian concept, all of that. And I just wrote all of that in the written submissions. And so didn't get so much time to revise, etc. But by the time Monday came and I gave it to Mr. Khushi, he looked at it and he said, hasn't it become too academic? I said, yes, but rest of the points have already been covered. So this is what I could have written. And then he also didn't have much time to change anything. So it went as it is, right?
Yes,
and if you look at the judgment, it kind of quotes it verbatim, right, as Mr. Khushi's contention, because we didn't have time to make oral submissions, therefore we had filed written submissions. So it quotes it verbatim. And following it, all the landmark judgments that have come, be it privacy, be it Aadhaar, be it 377, dignity, Dawkinian concept of dignity, has been explained, has been dealt with in all the judgments, right? So this is what happened, and this is what can happen. Only if you are willing to break the barrier. So there's always a barrier that's stopping you in whatever you can actually do in life, right?
Yes,
so whether it be in terms of what can I argue in this case, so you may be having an out-of-box thought, but it's not even occurring to you because you have just you're working in a straight jacket and you're like, You see lawyers when they walk like you. I recognize them whenever I see them anywhere because they walk like this. I mean, they're taught in such a manner that this is how
Yes,
it
ma'am.
is. This is what this case said. This is what you can't go beyond it, right? So I think that's important to be able to to be a part of the development is important for me. And if I can do much more in the field of law, right, I think I'll feel to be successful. Rest can happen. See, recognition, etc. I can't plan it. I don't think I can. I don't want to because it's very superficial for me. Because people see just what they see, right? They can't see what goes inside, what's happening, how many factors, what all I'm dealing with. So the time when I
Yes,
was dealing
ma'am.
with my chronic neurological condition, I was at my worst. That's when I would consider myself to be most successful because I was dealing with so much, and yet I was doing things. I was not getting stopped by it. So for me, that's being successful. Not when you can do everything and you're able to achieve stuff. So that has made a difference in my life on how I look at success and to what extent I think recognition is important. So I
चार्जर हो
don't.
चाहे जगह बिछाना पर चादर हमारा उठा के लगा दे
Sagar, can you please
Hello.
mute yourself? Thank you. So I don't think recognition for me recognition is not that important and to estimate to assess my success, right? So that's why I won't tell you in terms of whether I want to do this, whether I want to do that, whether I want to be known by thousands of persons or hundreds of persons, but I just want to keep doing the good work.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm very excited for the first thing that you said about the goal to bridge the gap between the students
Yeah.
who are missing out on something like researching, drafting skills. So I'm personally looking onto it, ma'am. Hope it would, come and benefit all of us. And secondly, as you told that you want to empower women, ma'am, I can surely say not only women, but whoever who will be listening to you, who have listened to you, is definitely going to be empowered. You are so much confident, ma'am, and you are just a perfect person. I am meeting a lawyer whom I can look up into and say, yeah, like these are the things that I need to adopt in myself. So that's great, ma'am. And ma'am, at the end, I would like to invite questions from the students. So students, if you have any questions, just raise your hand and I will ask you to unmute yourself.
Akshita, I think I've already answered the important skills. So if anybody else has any question.
Mhm. Yeah, yes, ma'am, you have answered Akshita's question. Anybody else, if you have any question, you may please proceed. I don't think they have any questions, but
If you would like to share something, if you would something that touched you from today's discussion, something that you're taking from today's discussion, uh, this is a time. See, you should always utilize all opportunities to speak. It will make you a great lawyer. Trust me.
definitely, ma'am. Okay, Sagar,
Sagar
you
is
are
typing.
typing.
Okay, now I'm going to call out names now. I'm a very amazing teacher, so trust me. I'll start calling out names. So, so
Oh,
either you tell me yourself who wants to go ahead, or I'm starting to call out names.
can I ask ma'am directly a question if I am permitted to do so?
Yes, please, Sajuti. Never seek permission. Just do it.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to tell that seriously, when I was listening to your the way you were talking, I was following you so much. Like your voice, speech, the way you were talking, everything. Like I love the session today, ma'am. Actually, I am presently a CS student. I am pursuing my master's in finance and company secretary course simultaneously. So I like since I've started getting into the CS course, I'm learning about law and I have some interest regarding some law papers and all. So that's the reason I like joined to learn more about what this law world is all about. So, ma'am, any advices from your side for me?
Right, so Jyoti, so since you're doing CS, you have already read quite a bit of law. So
Yes, ma'am.
if you want to build your career in law, depends what exactly you're looking for. It can be a litigation career, like you have Harish Salve, who was a CA as well as a lawyer. You have other lawyers who are also CS, right?
Okay.
That can also help you in getting company law cases, etc. How you pitch it and how you use it depends on that. It can also help you in getting jobs in law firms, particularly, there are tier 2 law firms, etc., who don't want to have separate CS and separate lawyers. They would ideally prefer a CS plus law. So these are the options that will open up for you if you're looking from the aspect of opportunities. Otherwise, if your instincts say, no, I want to do it, I want to explore, it's worth
Okay.
doing it.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Ma'am, and the next question is from Priya. She is asking on what are the challenges that we could face in future.
Right. What challenges you'll face again is it can be very, very personal. I'll tell you, for me, my challenge was, you're seeing I'm confident, you're seeing all of that. But my challenge was because I have a chronic neurological disorder. The way I open so sometimes these muscles can give me a problem. In fact, today also they're giving me a problem. So I'm not able to open it the way I want. I'm very particular about, I'm a perfectionist. I want to open it in a certain way. How much I open, what I do with it. But I am not able to do that, right? So I'm conscious about
Yes,
this.
ma'am.
My voice at some point was affected. It would go down after a certain while so that people could hear. So I had to work on it. So I still continue to work on these muscles. So I continue to work on this muscle, right? On my vocal cords, I've worked a lot, right? So it depends what your challenge would be. Now, this is very personal. Now, some people say, oh, my challenge is I am not articulate. Or when I see people, I don't know how to talk. I'm an introvert. I don't know, right? Those are very, very common challenges that people face and that you should recognize now itself, and you should work on it now itself. You can stand in front of mirror and practice reading aloud to yourself, reading aloud, recording it, listening to it. Your reading aloud is one exercise. The other exercise could be you have prepared something and then you're saying it aloud to see if you are convincing enough. Your delivery is convincing or not. Look at the mirror and you see, right? So these are the various kind of things you can practice if you are looking at litigation as a career. You can't really think, oh no, but I don't want to become an advocate. So don't make those decisions right now. Just prepare yourself for everything, right? And again, how much you earn at the beginning, etc., can be a problem. But if you have worked hard, and I've seen people who have not worked hard enough, or they have not created their space during internships, etc., have faced problems later on. But if you are doing all of this, maintaining a balance, then of course it shouldn't be a problem for you. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is from Neha. She is asking about exploitation at workplace. Yeah,
Right.
how to be.
Just a sec, there's a personal message as well. So I'll just share my email ID also in case any of you want to get in touch with me. That shouldn't be a problem. Neha's question, I have a question, how to become successful in law field when we are regular in practice, but exploitation is more at the workplace, or we are unable to find the right place. Right. So you don't stop trying. You don't feel like a victim, right? So the moment you start feeling like, oh, these are the situations against me now, it's just fate that's deciding for me, and you become very passive about things, that your entire life gets affected. It can be anything, anywhere. So this is like a life skill that will help you. Suppose tomorrow you're sick, this will help you to fight it, right? So whichever situation you are in, you always have an option. You have a choice to make whether I want to bear it silently, whether I want to bear it silently, but as well as I keep on working because I know where I want to go, what I want to become, and these things won't stop me. This is not worth being considered at all, right? So, so please don't just let your mind be clouded with these kind of things. I mean, they happen everywhere. You can just negotiate your spaces, right? So I always imagine the corridor of Supreme Court. It's very crowded. So you just find so you have two options. One option is you stand there and you say, you know what, you can't push me. Another option is you just glide, you make your way through it because you know where you have to reach.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Mehak is asking, what are the benefits of doing LLM, and is it okay if I do not do LLM? Benefits of doing LLM for litigation again depends what you do during your LLM, right? So it's not necessary to do LLM, right? You can use that time to build up your practice. It will help you way more. But if you are clear about how you can, like I was very clear when I went to do LLM from Essex, I wanted to do in human rights, international human rights law. I was clear I want to do in international human rights law. And I was clear that I want to, as I said, I wanted to study. There was this very, very clear, this thing calling that I really want to study. And I did it. And when I went there, I was utilizing that time in doing things that will help me in litigation, right? That helped me ultimately in litigation, that developed my confidence, that increased the kind of exposure I had. I chose those kind of subjects that will help me, right? So you can do all of that, right? Lokesh is asking session kab end hoga time.
I
When
can't.
we're about to end.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Sagar. Sorry, can't hear you properly.
Yes.
Ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, audible? Ma'am.
Sagar,
I can't
actually,
hear
your
you.
voice is not clear. Maybe a network issue.
Can you please type your question, Sagar?
Yeah. Yes, Sagar. That would be better.
I'm sharing my email ID with everyone. You can get in touch with me. Can't hear you, Sagar. You'll have to type it. I'm so sorry.
Sagar, you are not at all audible. Maybe a network issue. Please type your question.
Sir, I already typed, sir, and sent you.
Uh, okay, yeah. We got
Right.
Sagar's
A
question.
bill was passed by the parliament and sent for assent to the president.
A lot.
Okay. While the matter was under consideration, now this is a very, very. Where did you pick it from? This is like a copy paste. Anyway, that answer it. While the matter was under consideration with the president, all the political parties. Are you testing me? All the political parties except the party in power at the center petitioned to him to not give assent to the bill. The party in power at the center had not formed government. The president approached you as in to give legal advice on the issue of giving assent, give advice based on the constitution. This is copy paste. This is cheating. This is not done. This is not how it works in litigation. But yeah, the president has to act on aid and advice of the.
No.
Sorry?
No, ma'am. Basically, I have to write research on, ma'am, on this topic. That's why I asked you, ma'am.
Delegate versus
Yeah.
non-delegate.
It's a
Then you need to
That's why
research
I
it,
want to help
Sagar.
you
You
regarding to
can't
this.
be looking for shortcuts because this is an opportunity for you to develop your own research skills and to come up with ideas that may not be written anywhere, right?
No, ma'am. Basically, I need your just support, ma'am. Basically, you
So
can guide
why
me,
didn't you
then
do
I
one thing?
can.
This is something I've done throughout my student life. I've asked people to write it and send it to me, give it to me. I'll read it and I'll tell you where to improve, how to improve. That I can do. That's the way you need to help people. It's not giving answers doesn't help. Trust me. So just do that.
Basically, uh, uh, just 1 minute, ma'am. Basically, I have already write down
okay. I've shared my
about this.
email ID. Just send it to me and I'll get back to you.
Okay, so Sagar, you are again inaudible. working on it.
It's okay. I think we are not negotiating this here. I've said what I've said.
Definitely, ma'am.
Right.
We don't
Great.
have any more questions, it seems.
Perfect.
Yeah, ma'am. And personally, this was one of the greatest and one of the most fruitful evening that I have. It was a lot of learning and lot of inspiration that I get, and I'm sure we all have enjoyed it. And ma'am, at the end, I would request if you have any piece of advice to not just the law students, but to all the youngsters. So what would it would be like?
I feel very jittery when I'm asked to give advice. It feels like you're asking me to say, "Oh, this is what you should be doing." But I will ask you to just be yourself, enjoy life, explore things you want to explore, take your own decisions, follow your instincts, and make your own path. And that would be the path meant for you. It's not for anybody else to tell you what you should be doing, right?
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, before I could actually end it by delivering the vote of thanks, I would like to know how you like this interview.
I really enjoyed it because I could be myself. The space was amazing, Abhishek, what you
Thank
have
you so much,
created
ma'am.
here. And all of you who have been listening, I think you all were amazing because of which I could talk the way I did today. It has got a lot to do with the space. So thank you so
Yes,
much for being so receptive to what I was saying. Thank you.
yes, ma'am. And thank you so much to you, ma'am, for sparing your valuable times. And we will always be looking for your precious guidance and your time. We will be seeking your blessing and support at every time. And I'm sure I'm looking at the chat box, and yes, the students have learned a lot. So thank you so much, ma'am. And